Hi YouTube. So I talked a lot in the past few videos about how to find out what is really important to you. And I mentioned the concept of the moral compass, or at least the kind of true north concept. I mentioned that before. It's a concept I got from the book First Things First from Stephen Covey. And in this video, I want to deep dive into the things that can strengthen and cultivate a healthy moral compass. Because this is really critical, right? Like, if you think you're going in a certain direction and later it turns out that you are actually not, then yeah, where does that lead you? Well, not to the place where you want to be, obviously. How do you know that the place you really want to go is really the place where you want to go, and not that your mind has just been corrupted by external sources? Okay, anyway, I think you would be shocked if you knew how much content I'm actually cutting away after recording, because I just tend to rant on a little bit, and I always wonder, like, who would like to listen to that stuff? If you do, let me know in the comments, and then I can record an hour session of me ranting about God knows what. But for today, I want to keep it a bit concise and short. So I want to talk about the 4 gifts that we have been given as human beings that make up, let's say, the core, the foundation of our moral compass, our true north pointing device, which is a compass indeed. And I want to explain some activities that you can do, some type 2 activities that can help you cultivate and strengthen your compass and help you guide you towards your true north. So the 4 gifts that we have that help us show what true north is are self-awareness, our conscience, our independent will, and our creative imagination. Self-awareness is the capacity to stand apart from ourselves and to look at ourselves and to evaluate the perhaps lenses through which we are looking at the world, as well as looking through these lenses, and perhaps trying on a different set of lens. Also the fact that we can self-reflect, reflect on the things that we do, that is all part of what we consider to be self-awareness. We are aware of ourself, of our individual reality in the world. So formally, it is the capacity to stand apart from ourselves and examine our motives, our history, our scripts, our actions, and our habits and tendencies. Second is our conscience, which helps us to connect to the wisdom of the ages and the wisdom of our heart. So kind of wisdom accumulated from making many mistakes from our ancestors that has been kind of ingrained into the back of our mind. We might not consciously be aware of why it is like that, but we get a general feeling that this is not right. And it can also be referred to the voice of your heart. So your heart also telling you what you really need to know, telling you what is truly important to you, and being kind of this individual agent inside of yourself, showing you the path. And of course, if you are a little bit into Carl Jung, which I am, he has this concept of collective conscience, which I don't want to go too deep into, but he has also the sense that there is a collective conscience which we can all tap into, which is kind of common across human beings. So before I continue, I quickly want you now to consider how these concepts can be helpful to you and can help you to live a better and more fulfilled life. And if you feel like this is indeed helpful and you want to see more of this, consider subscribing to the channel and recommending it to someone you know that might also benefit from watching this content. Moving on to independent will, which is really the concept of us being able to respond freely in any given situation. So we try to reject really the concept of being a victim of things happening to us. Of course, there are things happening to us, but that does not define who we are. We have this independent will. We are response able. We are able to respond. Responsible, response able. We are able to respond to things. And there is a nice quote in the book, which I quickly want to read to you because I thought it was quite powerful. It's just a couple of lines in a kind of structured, logical fashion. So it's: between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So we have the freedom to respond. There is, of course, a stimulus, so things are happening to us, but it's up to us, to our independent will, to choose how we will respond to that. So this is the key point of independent will. The fourth thing is creative imagination. It is the power to envision a future, to solve a problem, or to create something in our mind. All these four things should not be considered as separate buckets, but more as a kind of intertwined set of possibilities that we all need to cultivate and grow so that they can help us guide towards what we really want. And not only what we want, but what we should want, like where we actually need to go. What is really the true, what is the thing that truly gives us meaning in life? And that is something that this compass, these four qualities will help us find that. So I just said these four things are not separate entities, but I still want to give you four distinct things that you can do, type 2 activities that can help you cultivate these gifts. So the first one is for self-awareness, but also be aware that there is, of course, some overlap between all of them. So for self-awareness, the activity that you can do is keeping a personal journal. I think this is pretty straightforward. So it is just a journal that you keep. You can either do that on your computer in notes or whatever software you like, or you can have a physical notebook where you write stuff down. I have experimented with both, to be honest. Currently, I have a OneNote on my work computer, actually, where I write down all the things work-related, but also some personal challenges I have. And I just try to write down what my experiences are. If I try to do something, did it go well? Why did it go well? If it didn't go well, why didn't it go well? What are my thoughts about how my day is going? I just try to write everything down. And first of all, it helps you think, because I found out that if I just think, sometimes my thoughts go in kind of circles. And I feel like writing things down can really help me to get that clear. Some people really are able to think well while speaking. So it might also be good to have a regular session with a buddy of yours, just reflecting together on how the week went. But I think writing it down also enables you to read it back again, to reflect on what you were writing a week before or a year before, and see how your progress is and how your thought patterns evolve over time. So keeping a personal journal is very, very powerful. Second, you need to educate your conscience. And how you do that is by learning, listening, and responding. And the way that you can do that is you can read and think about wisdom literature of the ages. So that could be some scripture from various religions, some old philosophy books. You can try to reflect on your own experiences. So that goes a bit hand in hand with the previous action of the journaling. So thinking about what has happened to you in the past week or in your childhood, and trying to really reflect on that and put that on paper. It's also carefully observing the experiences of others. So it's really great to learn from your mistakes, but it's even better to learn from other people's mistakes. So if you see someone do something stupid, write it down and write down why it was stupid. And also the same goes for if someone does something amazing. Try to write down what exactly that person did and how it was so amazing. And try to find out as much as you can about that. Taking time to listen to your inner voice. So trying to make sure that you actually also give some time for your conscience to speak. We are constantly distracted by a billion things. Like there's no single moment where you can just sit down and just be quiet and have actually your heart be able to say something to you, where it's not completely overshadowed by all the noise from outside. So one way could be a kind of meditation, like meditational practices, praying practices are all very good for that. Trying to create a bit of silence in your mind so that your conscience can actually get a stage and get a chance to talk to you. And then very important is actually the last part, which is also responding to what your conscience is telling you. And that is a bit of shadow work. If you're interested in that, I made a whole video on shadow work. It's not necessarily communicating with your shadow, but it's communicating with your unconscious. And I think it's important that you have a kind of practice that helps you do that. I talk about that in my video on different ways that you can implement shadow work. And I think this is exactly what you should do. So see what your conscious has to say and how you can respond to that, and yeah, start having that dialogue. Third, we go to the independent will. There's a really practical and great advice that I have, which is make promises and keep them. And those can be very, very small promises, and they can even be promises to yourself. But this is really critical to build a kind of integrity and to show yourself and to cultivate a part of yourself that is fully integrated and trustworthy and does what he says. So it can be that you say, I want to do 10 push-ups every day. I don't know, whatever you do. The key is then that if you make this commitment, you also really have to do it. So it doesn't matter if you do something very simple and easy. The fact is that you tell yourself you will do something and then you do it. And the same thing goes for personal relationships. If someone asks you to do something and you say, I will do it, you also really have to do it. So if you try to cultivate this kind of practice, you will find that it will get easier and easier to actually keep your promises, as you will also be more critical of what you really commit to. If you failed a couple of times or you struggled to deliver on your commitments, you will start to think more and more like, is this really something I want to commit to? Is it something I can commit to? So you will be a bit more selective to what you will commit to, but also you will practice that your word has value. And that is something very key if you really want to be guided towards your true north and what is really important in your life. Finally, we have creative imagination, and for that I advise to do a lot of visualization, which means you kind of try to daydream in a sense. You dream up a scenario that you find challenging or difficult, or something that really has happened, or just an imaginary scenario could also be fine, where you are triggered into a kind of stress situation, and then you try to act not according to a reactive state, but like the best state that you could possibly react according to your own principles and values. And you try to play that out into as much detail as you can and see what kind of experiences come from that. And what that will do is it will actually help you put yourself into that state of mind. If a similar situation occurs, you have already told yourself this story that this is actually the person who you are. You have practiced not being responsive, but taking a deep breath and doing what is right. This is a beautiful thing. I actually didn't know that this was a thing you should be doing. I found myself actually doing that quite a lot. And I know a lot of guys, like a lot of my friends, we talked about that in the past. Sometimes you just daydream about some kind of hero scenario where something, someone is being mean to someone, and then you step in to be like the cool guy and say like, no, stop it right there. You step in to save the day. I know a lot of people dream about it, but that's actually a good thing. So keep on doing that, keep on dreaming. And if that actually occurs, you will be able to snap faster into that state of mind so that it will actually happen. So of course, this is not an exhaustive list. So if you have any other things that you might be doing that you think that could help me or other people, please feel free to put that in the comments so that we can all learn how we can cultivate a healthy true north, a healthy moral compass. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you really watched to the end, I guess that must mean that either you were like doing dishes and your hands are dirty and you were unable to turn it off, so you just decided, what the hell, let's just listen to this guy, or you really like my content, in which case I would love it if you could also like the video. And I have an Instagram channel which is not that big yet, but I'm trying to kind of grow that as well in parallel to the YouTube channel, so just to reach a bit more people. So if you wouldn't mind and you are on Instagram, think about following me there as well. I will try to put some posts with just basically summaries of the videos that I have, and I will also drop all the shorts that I'm having on YouTube. I will put them on Instagram as reels and stories as well. So if you want to keep updated on these things that I'm doing, just join that as well. Would be great. All right, thanks. And don't forget to have a nice day.